I scoured the internet for the most common diet and fitness tips for men's health, and I compiled it into facts and myths so you don't have to, and I broke it all down in this video. You want to know what the biggest struggle men are facing right now when trying to figure out how to get their health and fitness goals? Too much damn information. I'm going to be honest, I even get overwhelmed, and I have been studying and learning nutrition for over 15 years as a registered dietitian, so I can't imagine you watching this. I need to go carnivore. Maybe keto is a better option. Wait, this guy recommended plant-based, or I should probably take this supplement. Looks like I gotta work out fasted and drink 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking up to see results. Man, it's a lot, to be honest. So I decided to put together a list of 24 of the most common tips or myths that I hear for men's health and some women, and whether or not it's advice worth following. I will show you my receipts, studies, and the science behind a lot of these recommendations in my professional perspective, along with my experience working with hundreds of men in the past few years. So if you're ready to gain some clarity in a sea of information and misinformation in the topics of muscle building, fat loss, health, and longevity, make sure you watch until the end because it's going to be worth your time. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andres Ayesta. I'm a registered dietitian and I'm also a strength coach. And I help busy men, especially dads like myself, lose fat, build muscle, and optimize their health without extreme diets or spending hours in the gym. I break down science-backed nutrition and fitness strategies in a way that actually makes sense. No fats, no gimmicks, just real practical advice. So if that sounds like it's something that you need in your life, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video from me. Now, why is this topic even important talking about tips and things like that? Because we live in a world of too much information or too much misinformation. Everywhere you turn, there's someone claiming that their method is the only way to lose fat or build muscle. One guy swears by intermittent fasting. Another says carbs are the enemy. Someone else tells you that heavy lifting is what's required for building muscle. And don't even get me started on the influencers pushing magic supplements behind a curtain of ancestral eating or carnivore ways of living. You know who I'm talking about. It's overwhelming, right? I tell my clients this all the time. Before they start working with me, they spent years gathering random pieces of a puzzle, but they have no idea how to put it together. So instead of making progress, they just keep collecting more pieces, more diet hacks, more workout strategies, more quick fixes, but the puzzle never comes together. And that's the real problem. It's not that men don't want to improve their health, it's that they don't know who or what to trust. That's exactly why I made this video, to take all these pieces, put them together for you, and show you what actually works. Now that we got that out of the way, and we set the stage, let's get right into it. Now I've broken these down into three main categories. Muscle and strength myths, because way too many guys are wasting way too much time doing things that don't actually help them do that. Number two is going to be fat loss myths, because burning fats isn't as complicated as the internet makes it seem. And number three, it's diet and nutrition myths, because what you eat matters, but not the way that most people think. And we're going to be doing this in a rapid fire style. Some of these I'm going to debunk in seconds, and others I'm going to break them down a little bit deeper that may require some science to back those things off. So let's kick it off with muscle and strength myths, because this is where a lot of guys get it wrong. Starting with myth number one, muscle turn into fat if you stop working out. The fact is that muscle and fat are entirely different tissues. One cannot morph onto another. What actually happens if you stop training your muscles and keep overeating, your muscles will shrink from disuse while fat stores increase from unused excess calories. This can make it appear like hard-earned muscle turn into the flab, but in reality, the muscle fibers atrophy and fat cells expand. But muscle tissues do not magically convert to fat tissue. That's physiologically impossible because their cell structures are completely different. Similarly, you can't turn fat into muscle by lifting weights. Instead, you burn off fat for energy and build new muscle through training adaptations. The processes are completely separate. Myth number two, lifting weights will make women bulky. I know this was going to be about men, but guys, you probably have wives, so this probably is going to be something for them. This is a common fear, but it's largely unfounded. Because of hormonal differences, most women do not bulk up from typical strength training. The hormone testosterone is a key driver of muscle hypertrophy or growth, and women produce only a fraction of the testosterone that men do, roughly 10 times less on average. So ladies, don't worry about that. And for the wives of the guys watching this, let them know. Myth number three, you need to lift heavy weights to build muscle. Light weights only tone. This is a bit nuanced as it really depends on the training status of the person. This may be a myth for untrained people who are new to training, and maybe more of a potential fact for some that have a long training and standing experience. With that said, you can build substantial muscle with lighter weights, even if it's just bodyweight exercises as long as you challenge your muscles enough. The key stimulus for muscle growth is reaching fatigue and creating tension in the muscle fibers, not the absolute weight on the bar. In fact, studies have shown that high rep training with lighter loads can be just as effective for hypertrophy. For example, this one experiment, participants did push-ups using body weight only for 8 weeks, gained the same chest and arm muscle size as those who did heavy bench presses over the same period of time. Another study found women achieved comparable strength gains by doing more reps with lighter weights versus fewer reps with heavy weights. Now, the common thread was that both groups worked their muscles to full fatigue. But again, both of these studies looked at untrained individuals, so for people that have been lifting for quite some time, it may be a bit of a different story. Myth number 4, you must consume protein immediately after you work out. The fact is, hitting a precise 30-minute post-workout window or protein window, it's less critical than overall daily protein intake, and I've changed my views on this. The idea that all of your weightlifting efforts will be wasted if you don't slam a shake right after your exercise is a bit of a bro science fact, or I guess I should say myth. In reality, muscles do need protein for repair and growth, but they will use protein whether you eat it immediately or a few hours later. Myth number 5 is no pain, no gain. If you're not sore, you're not building muscle. The fact is that soreness, the aches you feel 24 to 48 hours after a new hard workout, is not a reliable indicator of muscle growth or a good workout. According to the American College of Sports Medicine, the old no pain, no gain motto is misleading. Muscle soreness, also known as DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, is caused by microscopic tears in muscle fibers from unaccustomed stress. While these micro tears are part of the muscle adaptation process, the degree of soreness doesn't really directly reflect how much stronger or bigger your muscles are going to get. You can have an excellent strength workout with minimal soreness, especially once your body is accustomed to the exercise. Conversely, you might be extremely sore after doing something new, but that doesn't necessarily mean you made huge gains. It just means you shock your muscles in a new way. Pain is not the goal, progress is. So don't chase soreness as a measure of success. Instead, track objective gains like increased weight lifted, more reps, or improved performance. Myth number 6, the more you work out, the more muscle you'll build. The fact is, muscles grow during recovery, not during workouts themselves. In fact, during workouts themselves, they kind of tear apart. Exercise is a stimulus that create microscopic damage, as I mentioned, and fatigue. And it's in the rest period afterwards that the muscle repairs and comes back stronger. Doing too much can be counterproductive as it doesn't really give muscles time to recover and can lead to overtraining or injury. The sweet spot for most people is to train each major muscle group around 2 times per week with challenging but not excessive volume, and allow for at least 48 hours before working the same muscle again. Myth number 7, you need to bulk up, eat a huge calorie surplus to gain muscle. The fact is, a massive calorie surplus mostly leads to fat gain. It can actually help with weight gain or muscle gain, but you only need a small surplus to build muscle efficiently. I typically explain that building muscle is not as easy as losing body fat. Building a new tissue is far more complex than losing it. This is why I explain muscle building is like riding a bike uphill. Doesn't get any easier, while fat loss is riding the same bike in a flat level surface. Once you gain momentum, it becomes easier. A few weeks ago, we shared a video where we talked a little bit about the facts of gaining muscle and losing fat at the same time, and the order of priority that you should probably start to look at whenever you're looking to do both, or at least when you're trying to gain muscle. And you're going to find that the training stimulus is going to be far more important sometimes than getting an X amount of surplus in your calories. Myth number 8, you need to constantly switch up your workouts to confuse your muscles. The fact is, your muscles don't get confused. They don't really understand like what's going on. They don't have like a brain on their own. What they need is progressive overload. Consistency is key. Changing your workouts every week just stops you from making real progress, to be honest. This is why, even though I do CrossFit, I don't believe it's the most effective way to build muscle. And CrossFit is one of the best ways to explain muscle confusion because every day is a different type of workout and you really know what to expect. So from personal experience, almost like 8 years doing CrossFit because I enjoy it, the amount of gains I've had of muscle doesn't necessarily compare to the amount of muscle I've gained like doing a structured training program in a conventional gym. Not saying that it's impossible, but we don't really train like CrossFit game athletes who are a little bit more structured when it comes on to that. With that in mind, myth number 10, cardio kills muscle gains. This is a bit nuanced as well. The fact is, excessive cardio without proper nutrition and training can slow muscle growth, but moderate cardio can actually improve recovery and endurance. Now, the type, the duration, and the intensity of the cardio plays crucial roles in how it affects muscle mass. For example, high intensity, short duration cardio sessions are less likely to interfere with muscle gains and may even promote fat loss while preserving muscle. Conversely, prolonged moderate intensity cardio for a long period of time every day can lead to muscle loss if it's not properly managed, particularly with the right nutrition. Myth 11, you have to train each muscle once per week, or what we call bro split, to grow. Research shows that training each muscle 2 to 3 times per week is more effective for hypertrophy than once a week bro split. We went over this a little bit earlier, so I'm not gonna get too much into that. But that covers strength and muscle gain. Let's move on to fat loss myths. Myth number 12, you can spot reduce fat from specific areas. For example, doing lots of ab exercises will burn belly fat. The fact is that targeting exercises might strengthen muscles in a specific area, but they won't selectively burn fat there. Fat loss occurs systemically. This means your body draws energy from fat stores across the whole body, not just the worked areas. Now, some people, depending on your gender and different things like that, may have a predisposition to store more fat in certain areas compared to others, and you may draw fat from some areas first compared to others. For example, like men typically complain about the fact that they had the love handles, and a lot of times those are the last places where fat would go. That's my case. Women, they may experience this sometimes in their arms or their legs or sometimes around their hips. Now, scientific studies have debunked spot reduction for a long time. For example, people who did 6 weeks of ab exercises saw no significant loss of abdominal fat. In another trial, women who did ab workouts for 12 weeks showed no belly fat loss compared to diet changes alone. In short, you can't choose where your body burns fat. Overall, fat loss through a calorie deficit and time is needed to slim any particular area. Myth number 13, carbohydrates or fats make you fat, so you must cut them out to lose weight. I think this is a pretty given, but no single macronutrient is inherently fattening. Excess calories are the real culprit. Eating carbs or fats in reasonable amounts won't automatically cause fat gain. The whole insulin carb model of obesity is what drove a lot of people to fear carbs, which is the idea that carbs raise insulin and insulin blocks fat, and because of that, that's where carbs are bad. But this has been debunked multiple times, and there's been tons of research showing that that's not exactly how it works. Myth number 14, which is skipping meals like breakfast or not eating after a certain hour will accelerate fat loss or weight loss. The fact is meal timing is far less important than the total diet. Some people believe skipping breakfast kickstart fat burning or that late night snacks automatically turn to fat, but the research doesn't support that. A 4-month control study, for example, looking at breakfast specifically, found no differences in weight loss between those who ate breakfast and those who skipped it. It's also a myth that eating many small meals throughout the day will boost metabolism, and studies have shown no metabolic advantage if total calories are the same. What matters is overall calorie balance and making a plan that you can stick to. Now, that's easier said than done, and this is where a lot of times people struggle and they feel that whatever they're doing is not working, even though they're getting the calories that they're supposed to be getting, which is not as easy as it seems. Number 15 is that you can't out-exercise a bad diet, or exercise is all you need to lose weight. The fact is that may help for some people, and it really is context dependent, but exercise is fantastic for health, of course, and it helps with weight management, but diet plays a bigger role in fat loss than many realize. The idea of I'm just gonna burn it off not only creates the wrong mindset around diet and exercise, but it's also not comparable. You can't just exercise off 1,000 calories worth of a meal you had in a restaurant the night before the next day running. Technically you could, but that math is not as easy as it sounds. And though caloric balance is important, approaching fat loss with this mindset would only lead to a terrible relationship with food and a terrible relationship with exercise. Myth number 16, fat burning supplements help you lose weight. The fact is most fat burners are ineffective or rely on stimulants like caffeine to increase something known as thermogenesis, which is again like your body's ability to create and produce heat. Now, thermogenesis equals to more heat production, which is again technically could be fat burning. But the reality is like a lot of these supplements, what they've shown in research is like they just produce an acute effect. It's not necessarily like they're constantly creating a fat loss effect, which is really why I don't recommend them, because honestly, they don't produce nearly the benefits or the results that anybody could typically expect from a lot of these supplements. Sustainable fat loss comes from a calorie deficit. I'm going to repeat that ad nauseum. Not any supplements that promises direct fat loss. Drinking cold water or specific foods like grapefruit boost fat burning. Again, no single food drastically increases fat burning. It's the same thing with supplements. Total energy balance determines fat loss. I'm so tired of seeing so much marketing around fat burning foods. Like, how do they do that? Like, honestly, when people create content sharing this type of claims, I always ask how specifically does X food increases the oxidation of fat cells? And usually there really isn't a good response. Eating more meals per day speeds up your metabolism. As we reviewed in another myth about skipping meals, the same thing applies here. Total calorie intake matters more than meal frequency. Intermittent fasting, 3 meals a day, 6 meals a day can all work depending on your lifestyle. Ensuring adequate protein intake, although that's key, but how you split those calories throughout the day is far less important. Number 17, you need to cut out all processed foods to lose fat. The fact is, while whole foods are beneficial, you can still lose fat while eating processed foods if they fit within your calorie and nutrient targets. So many people on the internet have done experiments to show this. Like, there's a researcher who ate a diet mostly composed of Twinkies and lost 28 pounds in the process because he maintained a calorie deficit. This does not mean that you should eat only processed foods because, well, the reality is like two things can be true. Whole foods are ideal to reduce fat as they will increase satiety and will improve quality of nutrition, but eating processed foods can be a part of a healthy diet. Myth number 18, fast food automatically ruins your diet. The fact is, same answer as above. It's about overall intake. You can eat fast food in moderation and still lose fat if you manage your calories and macros. Influencer Jordan Cited ate a Big Mac every day for 30 days and documented the entire process, and he showed that he lost something like 8 pounds throughout the 30 days that he did it. And last but not least, we're going to be moving into the diet and nutrition myths. The first one here is that crash diets, detoxes, or fat diets like keto, juice cleanses, etc. will peel off fat faster and will keep it off. The weight loss and diet industry is pretty big. They want you believing this is the way to drop fat. Here's the truth. Extreme diets might make the scale drop quickly, but those results are usually temporary. I've done a bunch of diet reviews in the past and they all kind of lead to the same thing. I'm not just making this up. The evidence shows it in the research. A systematic review looked at studies on dieting published from 1931 to 1999 and found that only 15% of people kept the weight off after dieting, which leaves a whopping 85% of people who regain the weight back. Not only this, but the more you diet, the more likely you are to regain the weight in the future, as shown in this other review published in 2013. So can you please stop with the crash diets? I think it's pretty clear that they don't work long term. Another common one is that eating too much protein is bad for your kidneys. I don't know how this is still a myth, but it's still kind of coming up a lot. This is an old one. It still goes around. In healthy individuals, high protein intake does not harm kidney function. This only applies to those with pre-existing kidney disease and should be getting nutritional guidance and counseling as to what limits they need to set for protein intake. Another myth here is animal protein is necessary to build muscle. The fact is that plant-based diets can support muscle growth with proper planning to ensure that you're getting adequate protein intake and an amino acid profile. With that said, animal protein makes it a little bit easier to hit a complete profile of amino acids, particularly those your body cannot make or are called essential. But with good planning, it's possible to do it if you're vegan or vegetarian. Again, it just requires a little bit more work. Another myth is that red meat is inherently bad for you. Again, this has been debunked a million times. Lean red meat can be a part of a healthy diet. The issue lies in excessive processed meats and poor overall dietary patterns, not just meat consumption. And the last myth for today is that dietary cholesterol directly raises blood cholesterol. The fact is that research shows that dietary cholesterol has minimal impacts on blood cholesterol for most people compared to saturated and trans fats. Super simple. Again, I'm trying to keep these short because of the fact that we have debunked those for years, but I feel like there's still people struggling with that. Whew! Well, there you have it. I think there was like 24. I may have miscounted, but I'm hoping that it was around 20 or so of the biggest fitness and nutrition myths out there. Now, of course, these are not all of them. There's so many others out there that I really feel like I needed to include here, but you can tell me what other tips have you heard on the internet that you may have doubts about. Drop it in the comments. I promise I'll answer. Also, do you disagree with any of these? I would absolutely love to know. But Andres, if these things are not true, what should I do? Thought you never asked. Well, here's the truth, guys. I see way too many guys or many people really struggling on their own, trying to figure stuff out, again, on their own. This isn't really working, is it? At some point, you need to accept and believe that you need help from someone that knows more than you to get you to the place that you have not been. Otherwise, you're going to continue to do exactly the same thing, expecting a different result, which is the definition of insanity. Otherwise, you keep making the same mistakes and that keeps you stuck. This is why I put together a great webinar where I share 5 of the biggest mistakes men are making in their journey, plus the 3-step system we use to fix that and how you can do that as well. The link is in the description. Make sure you sign up. It's completely free. It's definitely going to be worth your time. But that's all I got for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy what I have to say. See you next week for another one. Peace.